I will say this is a really nice monitor.
Yeah.
You have a nice one. Where'd you get it?
My dad had it for a while and didn't want it anymore.
This is a nice monitor. Like the quality, like that's some HD. I'm like, dang, my quality is not like that.
It's 4K. I had bought it for him originally.
It's 4K.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense why it's such good quality.
Yeah.
Wow. How much was it? Like $1,000?
$500 actually at the time.
I don't believe it.
It's fine.
You stole
You
it.
don't have to believe it.
Where do you see comments?
That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Let's see. What I'm gonna do is just go on my phone to my channel so I can see them as they come in. What's up, everyone? Not doing too much right now.
Is it streaming already?
Yeah, we're streaming.
Oh.
We are live. Let's see. How do I go to here and go to your channel? Hopefully everybody is doing well these days. I'll turn all this down.
Need a second monitor.
Yeah, I know.
You put it up the top.
Yep, I have one at my work that I'm going to bring home and do. We are doing this live because I feel like it would be the best to do live since it's a long one anyways. We are all set. I don't think anybody's here yet, huh? Maybe. Possibly. Probably not.
Where do you see the comments coming in?
On the side here.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, we're going to start. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get controversial.
This is going to be a controversial one, but we are going to be respectful of all sides. So, let's get it.
Ground is a social experiment that brings humans.
Also, I love the fact of middle ground, you know, where you bring two sides together to talk. Mm-hmm. Anytime you can have a conversation about something, I feel like that's progress.
I agree with you. I think people are just constantly, your opinion fitted me, let me use all sorts of labels.
Right.
And, derogatory statements to make you feel less than because it justifies me treating you like crap.
And I think a lot of people have forgotten, right, that we can disagree and still be friends. Mm-hmm. Like me and you don't agree on everything.
Nope. And
we're still best friends. So just because I don't have the same opinion necessarily doesn't mean...
it's very tribalistic these days, man.
Yeah.
With opposing beliefs together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation.
I have never seen Middle Ground, so this
you haven't?
The first time
Okay.
I've seen this kind of episode.
What it usually has is there are people on different sides, and they ask a question, and then if you agree with it, you come up and sit down and talk about it, and if you don't, then you come up
Okay,
afterwards.
I've seen things similar to this.
Remember to seek out experts and to be critical of your own biases while forming an opinion. Please see the humanity in each participant, and as always, we encourage empathy.
And I think that's another thing a lot of people forget is that we're all human at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So when you say we're just redefining what being...
That's why people have to use specific words to label somebody, because if it's the only way I can justify treating you like crap. Because if I dehumanize you, then whatever I say to you or do to you is fine.
Right.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
In 2022.
No, I 100% agree. And the fact of the matter is, that's how people in the military are able to kill other people a lot of times, and that's why a lot of atrocities happen, is because you've dehumanized the enemy so much that they're not human anymore.
Right.
So
being a man is, you have to understand you're redefining a fabric in society that has kept the human race and got it to where it is today.
But do you see the state of our world today? It's not perfect, and it's been led by men like throughout all of history, and look where it's gone.
Okay. Can we stop that for a second? Like, look where it's gone.
We're gonna get there.
Okay, I'm about to say, because
one of my favorite middle grounds that I've done so far was cops versus actual gangsters from like the Bloods and Crips and stuff. It was pretty good.
Oh, sounds like that would have been a good episode.
Yeah.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. Masculinity is disappearing in America.
I agree with that statement.
I agree too. Yeah. And the reason I agree with it is we're seeing so many demasculated men nowadays. Johnny Depp, Will Smith. And it's not necessarily that I'm not saying women shouldn't be strong. But what I'm saying is if a woman is strong enough in your relationship to tear you down to where you have to act a certain way like that, lash out like Will Smith did to try to keep his wife happy, or to get walked all over like Johnny Depp or anything of that nature, you're stripping away what a man is supposed to be, a provider. You know what I mean?
Well, when it comes to these cases, they're just bad women. I mean, there are strong women out there who don't do that at all. So I wouldn't.
That's why I'm saying it's not that they're strong. Like I'm not saying don't be a strong woman.
Yeah, I don't consider them to be strong women per se.
Gotcha.
Like Amber Heard because they're successful and have money.
Right.
I really think strength comes from the mind.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I think as of right now, I think there are a lot of men, as far as regarding men, I think there are a lot of men have weak minds. And that's a big issue. Yeah. That is a huge issue. And that for women, for a lot of women, they have to compensate for the lack of the weak-minded men out there. Mm-hmm. So it would appear to be that are masculine because men themselves are not anymore, or many men.
Right. And yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I also have to say, you don't have, regarding like extreme feminism, you don't have to step on men to lift women up.
Right.
And I think that's something.
And another thing I want to throw in there: masculinity doesn't mean tearing women down. It's not saying, "Oh, I'm better than you because I'm a man. I need to be masculine." No, what it means, I guess, what being a man means is being reliable, being somebody that somebody can count on, and that has respect of themselves and kind of like hold themselves in a degree of esteem, in essence. Again, not cocky, not anything like that. Not I'm going to dominate people or anything. And it's not like, oh, to be masculine, you have to go fight MMA. That's not what necessarily makes a man, you know?
No.
There's a different idea of what masculinity is, and yeah. So.
Masculine.
All right, so this is my take when it comes to like masculinity and femininity.
Okay.
I just think that.
Hey, Katie.
I see women because they tend to be more emotional. I see the feminine as to be like the unstoppable force, very chaotic, right? Mm-hmm. And I think men need to be the immovable object. That's the only way two opposing forces can coexist. Okay. But a lot of men, especially when it comes to like the red pill and the alpha mega mindset, they keep on trying to be the unstoppable force when they need to be the immovable object. I mean, having strong boundaries. Yeah. And saying never give an inch. Right. Like this is who I am. That's never going to change. Yeah. But oftentimes they keep trying to be the unstoppable force, and there's no way that's going to ever work out for men and women. It's pretty good. Pretty good. So I just think men need to be more calm, and I think stoicism is going to boom in the future. Some point in the future, I think men are going to need to be able to learn how to find peace in this chaotic world. Yeah.
Masculinity is disappearing. I think that it's a concerted effort to emasculate men.
I know who he is. He has a channel here on YouTube. I think he is Officer Tatum. He used to be a police officer.
Oh, I think I've seen him on TikTok.
I think that some people feel threatened by masculinity and the typical way that men carry themselves, leading families and different things like that. So I think that there's an effort to mitigate strong men in America.
There's a few different ways to think about masculinity, but just looking at kind of the definition of the term 50 years ago, you had people like John Wayne, you had Martin Luther King, you had Sean Connery. You think of like masculine features as in beards, hairy chests, big muscles, think stoic, being brave, being rugged, being a provider. Today you have people like Harry Styles and Timothy Chalamet. You have people that are completely contrary to what we were looking at back then, and those values of those masculine characteristics are completely devalued.
Also, I disagree with what he's saying. Like, I don't believe the characteristics makes masculinity. But back then, you know, people who had, like in the military at least, and I did a paper on it. If you suffered shell shock in World War One or battle fatigue in World War II, you were looked like as not a man. Like, you were looked like you were a woman, and that was the essence of it, which is completely wrong, because it's a natural reaction for some people who are getting bombed constantly to go crazy, but which is now what PTSD is known as. But it's just, I think what they thought of as manly, and again, you need to change what's the definition of manly and masculine. I think those are two different necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
terms.
what people would call toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely something about toxic masculinity where guys are constantly trying to force or try to pretend to be something they're not.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to cause actually even more mental health issues.
Yeah.
And it definitely, I think it definitely plays a factor in all this mental health crisis that we're going through right now.
Yeah.
But like when I was growing up, you know, I hung out with like people you would consider toxic masculinity types of guys. Mm-hmm. And I never understood why they acted like that, because it seemed to be an over-exaggeration. Yeah. You know, there was never...
a caricature.
Yeah, almost. A caricature, you know? It just didn't seem real.
Right.
Like, why are you acting like in this certain way? Why are you talking about women in this certain way?
Yeah.
It just made no sense to me, because when those women came around, you were completely not that person anymore.
Right.
So I viewed those people as fake.
Yeah.
I viewed my friends, and they ended up going to prison later, but I viewed them as fake. They're not being true to themselves, and I think a lot of people are out there constantly not being true to themselves because they have like this idea in their head, like, this is what's going to make me accepted in society. This is what people is going to love. This is how people are going to love me. This is how people are going to respect me. I have to be this certain way in a certain group or a setting. And I think people just need to be true to themselves and start seeking outside validation, because it's causing a serious issue in the mental health area.
And I think that goes back to the differences between what is considered manly and masculine. Mm-hmm. People who want to be manly are those that try to fake it and are trying to do what they think what makes them a man, which is different than masculinity.
Yeah, especially when it goes like you watch these dating advices. You know, the big thing
I'm
is
an alpha.
The big thing is intelligence isn't how you consume information. It's how you consume it and then how you apply it to your environment. A lot of people just consume information and then they just read it like a book. This is what I'm supposed to do, but they don't apply it correctly to their settings. So it just makes you look dumber to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think that's a little off topic with this debate.
I do believe that masculinity is going downhill, especially if you look at like the testosterone levels. Now the testosterone levels for guys is going down compared to generations before us. So
men are becoming less aggressive. I mean that's true. Soy levels are high.
Gilbert, I'm 24 years old and I'm a conservative man. With my beliefs and having a trans man as my friend, we don't really talk about politics. Someone being trans doesn't make me like them any less of a person.
I agree with that statement 100%.
As far as pronouns,
I just think, I agree. You know, again, we need to look at each individual as a person, as a human being.
We can disagree and I can still respect you.
Yeah.
When referring to my friend, I don't really use the pronouns that my friend would want. I just say my friend or I say their name, just because I feel like I'm giving into the narrative that men can be women and women can be men if I use the pronouns that they want.
What are your ideas about pronouns?
I don't like compelled speech. I don't like compelled speech. I don't like... like if I told you my name is Brian and you want to address me, if you start addressing me as like Gary, then I just won't talk to you. That's it. Right. But I'm not going to try to pass laws to make you say my name is Brian.
Now, you know? That's right. Like laws wise, I don't think it should be a law, but on an individual level, I will try. Like if you want me to call you they, them, I will try to do it. Just because I view you again as another human being. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I will try it. I might mess up. But it's a respect thing to me.
I can do she or he. I mean that's simple enough. But they, them, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just.
I get what you're saying, but again, to me, it's more of a kind of like a respect thing that I try to do just to be respectful to others.
I understand, but that I'm just not gonna do that.
I get you.
I do see that masculinity is under attack completely, but my definition of masculinity, like you said, has a lot to do with the traits that are associated with it. As a gay man, I mean, of all of us, I'm not the most masculine man, but I do think that the good aspects of masculinity are definitely under attack, but I don't think that it's disappearing, it's just being channeled in different ways.
It depends on how you look at it, because a lot of the traits can also be embodied in women and femininity. So when we look at masculinity, I think that we have to also look at what is the actual definition of femininity and masculinity. And if we're defining masculinity by being stoic or muscles or body parts, then is it really masculinity?
A lot of times when you guys spoke about masculinity, you associate it with men being manly, but I think more women are embracing their masculinity. Masculinity is still there.
Like I said earlier, the only reason why women are embracing becoming more masculine because men are becoming more feminine.
I agree with that. I forgot what I was gonna say prior to that. Oh well.
I mean, just other genders are using it. Being courageous, being powerful, more women.
Oh, that's right. Pronouns, like again, I'll try. But I do not like being called a cis male.
I think it's redundant.
Yeah, but for me, like, if I'm going to try, like, don't make up something for me and then apply it to me. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be called something, I will try and I will do my best at it. But don't change me when I don't want to be changed. So.
I just simply think it's redundant.
Yeah.
A cis male is a male who was a male at birth.
Yeah.
Or who chose to continue to be their assigned gender or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying that person's a male.
Yeah.
Like,
Women are standing in their power, which is again associated with masculine, but it's not specific to just men. Women are no longer submissive, they're dominant. Women don't need men, and I think that most of America is realizing that anyone can be powerful on their own.
Hold on. What did he say? He said women don't need men?
Right, 100% disagree with that.
Women
100%.
Don't need men?
Right.
I mean, who's going to pave the roads? Like, who's going to
lay the bricks?
When your faucet starts leaking under your who's going down there? It's going to be 99.9% chance it's going to be a man.
Yeah.
Like you say, women don't need men.
Right.
Are you talking about singular relationships wise? Oh yeah, you can go. You can be a lesbian or what have you, date whoever you want. That's fine. But when you say that women in society don't need men built society
and still do.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Now, for me, I disagree with it on the relationship side of it too. Like I understand. Like me as a man, I am good at being a man, but I can become a better man by having a good woman beside me.
A good woman will make a man do things he would never normally do.
Right. And just like I think a good woman can be good by herself, but can reach greatness with a good man beside her.
Logic is sound.
And I think that's where we're missing out on. You can be good by yourself, sure, but you're never going to reach the potential you could be with a partner. And I normally associate that with men and women because that's the way I think was supposed to be. I'm not against anybody who wants to do anything that they want to do, but that's just me. I think it creates something that then you can create a being and create that. Like, to me, fathers and moms need to be in the house. Like, you need a father and you need a mother. Mainly more so father figure for boys, female or moms for females, but females need that father figure, boys need that mother figure too, to me,
I would say that I don't necessarily think that it has to be true. I just think someone has to embody masculine traits. Let's say like two moms two lesbians, they have a kid together. If one is more masculine, has far more masculine traits, and one is more feminine, I think that would balance that kid out, and they'll grow up to be a level-headed person.
But that boy will always know that the masculine figure is not a man. You know what I mean? And doesn't necessarily, like, I don't get what my daughter goes through, or whenever I have a daughter would go through, because I'm not a female. Like, I didn't go through that. Like, I don't know anything about menstruation. I don't know anything about periods. But I believe, and again, if the father's in the household, kids are more likely to graduate high school, more likely to become active members of society.
Well, statistically, you're correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's, that means. But
I'm just saying, like, when it comes to, like, lesbian or two women partnerships, I think if one was more embodied masculine traits, because there have been some, not all, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but there's been single moms who've raised fine gentlemen.
Oh, I agree.
But they were very strong,
right,
and very about what the kid did. Spanked them. Did whatever they had to do, showed punishment and consequences, and they didn't have join a gang or whatever and became a decent person. But I don't. But again, that mom had masculine traits.
I get that to an extent, but oftentimes, again, just single households, that mom's not going to be there as often, because she's going to have to work 1, 2, maybe 3 jobs to provide for children, which is the same for any single parent household. I get where you're coming from, that if one is more of a masculine figure, that it can play the part of being a father. I just think there are certain experiences as a man that I go through that I am able to relate to other men better in that situation.
Right. Well, I really can't say, because I had a strong masculine figure in it.
I did too.
And all I know is that if my pop wasn't there, if my stepdad wasn't there, I would have walked all over my mom.
Yeah.
Because my mom is a sweet, very feminine woman. Yeah. And I would have just straight ran the household.
She's pretty strong, though. She's pretty strong.
At a certain age, I stopped listening to her. And the only reason why I obeyed the rules in that house and didn't go to prison like the rest of my childhood friends was because of my pop was there to set me straight. Yeah. So, a strong male figure in a kid's child development is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I believe that the masculine traits are inherently in men, and men have to take a position. You made a really good point by saying women are now becoming more masculine. They feel as if they don't need men, which I think is the problem here. I think that the way we've been designed by God, in my opinion, is that men are to lead, men are to be strong, men are to be brave. Men have to take their rightful position. The way our country has been structured to this point have been because of strong men who have taken a stand, who have fought wars. Now I feel like it's getting so lopsided that our families are degrading. People don't know where they're at in this country.
Now in 2022, masculinity is being redefined. And I think what happens is people get upset when things start to change. No, I think that nobody ever wants to take that away from men. I think that what we want to do in the world now is start to understand what is masculinity. And it's always been really associated with this very machismo space. And now there's different kinds of men in the world. There's not just biological men. There's also trans men, or people who want to be masculine. So I think what's happening now is people are pushing against change, because change is scary and people don't understand. And so I think men, biological men, feel under attack, when I think that's not what's happening here.
The point that you made is 100% correct. There are different phases and people are experiencing in different ways. The feminist movement is, I think they are attacking masculinity within men. I don't want a man to open the door for me. I don't need a man in my life. I can do all of these different things. What they're doing is attacking men, and that's what's causing the problem.
What part of the feminist group feels like it's attacking? Because I know that most feminism is...
Most of the feminist group feels like they're attacking men. Like, of the modern feminist group.
Like the fourth wave feminism? Yeah.
It feels like it's just attacking men.
Trying to strip men of power. Yeah. The patriarchy and...
Right. But if you're looking for the patriarchy, you're going to find it anywhere. Just like, if you're going to look for the matriarchy, you can probably find it anywhere.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. I took a class on it.
Really?
Yeah,
So where's
gender studies.
matriarchal societies?
Britain. Queen.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like wanting equal pay.
I mean, throughout history, it's mainly been men, and mainly because when a woman rose to power, it didn't last very long.
Because
and again, if you can have an agrarian society, which we kind of have now, with Congress being mixed women and men, Senate being mixed women and men, that can work. But I think, again, men are supposed to be leaders.
Pay or
I don't know about. Men are supposed to be leaders. Men are supposed to.
And again, it goes back to your comment where we're more supposed to be the solid, immovable force. Immovable force, you said?
Yeah,
or immovable object.
The immovable object.
Yeah, where we're more steady.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the emotional aspect of a woman is not a bad thing. That's how they were created, again, by God to me, is that they're created to bring that out of men. Because normally we wouldn't do that ourselves. Right? Like, you don't see me cry. I don't see you cry. I see you brood, but I don't see you cry.
Well, you just said that women not needing men is somehow empowering. You know, having a man is somehow less empowering, or being an individual is somehow less empowering.
But that's how women feel.
Right.
Women actually are saying that because that's how they feel. It's
but
as if,
that's not how every woman feels.
But no one's saying every woman. They're only women speak for themselves. So all of you are going to have different opinions as biological men.
Absolutely.
Women all have different opinions. Oh, you see a very specific group of women say.
They're the loudest group of women.
I mean, you did just say that's how women feel. So are you speaking on behalf of all women?
No, I'm not. Let me take that back. The women who are saying that feel that way.
Why do you feel that women in general feel disempowered?
I don't think in general. No. That's a generalized statement. You can't say that. I said
you're
the women. No, I did not. I said the women who say that.
You associated somehow women are now embracing masculinity, which means that they are now more empowered because they don't need a man.
Or right. Men feel empowered when women need them.
But I don't think that...
I don't agree with that statement.
What did he say? I'm sorry, zoned out.
Men feel empowered when women need them. I don't think that's necessary.
Men
yeah, that's what
feel empowered?
Yeah.
No.
That's, again, I think going back to being manly. But, again, to me, it's like I feel powerful when I'm doing something that I know how to do and that I'm good at.
Like men, I'm trying to like analyze the statement. Men feel empowered when women need them.
I think they may feel empowered over women at that time, maybe, but I don't feel like they feel empowered.
I don't feel empowered, but I do think men do feel like, again, men feel better. Men become better versions of themselves when they have a good woman by their side.
Right.
So I think that men do, in some way, do feel empowered when they have a good woman by their side.
Yeah.
I
think the way that he said it, I think is wrong. I feel enabled to step up when a woman wants me. Like, I feel like I need to provide at that time. If that's being seen as I'm embracing power, maybe, but like I feel the need to provide for my wife or my girlfriend or whoever.
Yeah, that's like a switch.
Yeah.
Like when you get in like a relationship with a woman, or when you really like somebody, all of a sudden you want to do like, I don't like window shopping or doing something boring on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But with the right one, I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let me go. If we're walking down the street, I'm ready to like attack anyone or anybody that's ready to cause you harm.
Right.
Lay our life down. So in a way, we do get. I do feel like some sort of masculine strength coming from my position as a man in that relationship.
Right.
But as far as like we need to have that kind of power to lord over you,
I don't think that's
I think that's toxic men.
Yeah.
Toxic people, men and women who do that.
Right.
Who need, like, relationship is not about a power struggle.
Right.
It never will be, and that is why many relationships fail, because they always think it's a power struggle.
Right.
It is not. It's more like building a garden together.
Yeah.
And you cannot do that by yourself.
Right. Unless it's a very small garden.
Huh?
But yeah, again, it's like it's just an innate feeling in men to provide. Just like the woman will feel like I need to do whatever I can to make him feel respected in a sense, you know? Because to men, that's one of the biggest things is that we want to feel respected. And I feel like in Will Smith's case, he doesn't feel respected in that relationship. And maybe that's one of the many problems they might have. But I don't know.
The Will Smith case is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Like, I would never... The second I detect red flags or some sort of, like, change in my well-being, like, you're gone. Like,
and do you have a girlfriend?
Mind your business.
Women's empowerment comes from having a man or not having a man. So why is it always associated that, a woman's now empowered because she doesn't need a man? A woman has always been empowered.
Yes.
Women have never been.
Yes.
But they've never felt
That's
that.
not true.
I mean, if
women give birth. That's the most powerful thing on earth.
Like, you get first dibs on the life raft when the
Yeah.
tide is sinking. Like, that's pretty
we go
true.
back to
That's
Yeah.
pretty powerful.
the 1920s,
Men will
if you're
lay
going to
down
do that.
their life. Men have gone
Yes.
to war to die for a woman.
Yes.
Pretty. There's bodies.
We are dumb. We are not smart creatures.
But that's not
But
what
of
we're talking
course,
about.
you
We're
have-
talking.
I don't think these guys understand how much power women have had in history.
Yeah.
Like Cleopatra had a lot of power. I mean, until she was overthrown by the first Roman Empire, first Roman emperor. But
Yeah.
I mean, women definitely have power over men.
Right.
In their own way. In their own way. As far as like in America, as far as having like, voting rights. I mean, definitely that should have happened a long time ago.
Agreed.
But that is not what they're seeing or grasping. That concept that women have a certain power over men.
Yeah.
And the women constantly, the ones who know how to use it, abuse it. Bro, they abuse the shit out of it. I'm telling you.
Talking about society right now.
Right now, you actually think women are empowered right now?
Absolutely, women are empowered.
Who's the vice president? And how long did it take for her to become a vice president, though?
But you're looking at a position of power instead of being empowered.
It's like they're always
two
focusing
different
on
things.
sex or the gender or ethnicity of the person in power.
Right.
Just because they're Asian does not mean they're going to be the best person for that position.
Right.
And they're constantly trying to push.
However, I think Asians are the best position for every position.
Asian, let's go. But there's just so much focus on a person's characteristics other than whether or not they're suitable for the job.
Right. And also to me, it's like nitpicking. Not nitpicking, but like one position.
Right.
Everybody wants to see more diversity in that one position held by one person every 4 years, which, sure, that would be good to have more diversity in it, but is it necessary? Does that make sense?
I don't care. Listen, I'm not the type of person who watches movies to see a version of an Asian person with the same ethnicity and go, I need to be represented in movies. I don't. That's not me.
Right.
That person probably has different thoughts, opinions. We're not going to agree on anything. That is not me. I don't need you to represent someone who is completely not me to represent me. The only person who can represent me is me. Period. So I'm not in that particular group who needs to be represented. So I don't understand that.
I think we've been going for probably a half an hour and gotten how far into this?
Holy crap.
6 minutes.
6 minutes. Wow. This is a long
There is a
one.
right and wrong way to be a man.
I disagree.
Take a second to think about it.
There's a right and wrong way? Probably, yeah.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I think. Yeah, no. That's a weird question.
That
It's
is a
just
weird question.
Really weird worded question because
There's a right and wrong way to be a man.
I think being toxic is not a right way to be a man, but I don't think.
I mean, that's a very weird. That is a weird question.
Yeah, it was very worded weirdly.
I mean, there is only one right way to be a man to me. So I'm gonna say no.
But there are many.
I gotta say. I'm gonna say no. There is no. Wait. I'm not gonna sit
You're
in
gonna
that
say
chair.
yes.
What I'm saying is I'm not gonna sit in that
you would,
chair.
because you think there is a right and a wrong way to be a man. Well, you just said that you think there's only one way to be a man, so then you think that everybody else who doesn't fit that mold would be wrong. To me, I think there's just different levels of masculinity, I guess, maybe. Like, I'm a different kind of man than you are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong and what I'm doing is right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. That's why I think like this question is very wrongly worded.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm sitting with this guy.
Yeah.
I think that when I originally heard the question being asked,
I'm trying to. There's a right way and a wrong way to be a man.
I think there are many ways to be a man. Some are right, some are wrong.
Like what? So what would be right and wrong to you?
I don't think a man should go around killing lots of people.
But that's just a decent human being, bro.
Right.
That's a right and wrong way to be a
bad way to be a man.
I say bad way to be a decent human being. I don't necessarily think you need to be a man to be able to do something like that.
For me, a bad man would be somebody that left their children behind and walked out. That would be a bad man to me because they did not rise to the occasion like they're supposed to. You know what I mean?
So you would sit down?
Yeah, I said I would sit down. Are you sitting down or no?
I feel like there's like different facets, but
yeah. Didn't agree with it, but men are not abusive individuals. Right. Men are not to be cowards. Right. Men are to lead their families, and men who do not display that, I don't believe that they are men, in my opinion. And all of the qualities that I see in my father is what I believe a man should be.
All of those characteristics are what make a man. And when I see a man be a coward in the truth, in just speaking the truth, or sticking up for what's right, especially today in America with everything going on, I'm like, those are not men. My name is Clarkson. I'm 24 years old, and I'm a conservative man. My biggest question for the other side really is, are you happy? Anybody that wants to fundamentally change society and change gender roles, to me, that's not happiness. And if we want to fight for acceptance, we need to start with acceptance, which is accepting society for what it is.
That's interesting.
At the end of the day, we're all men, and I don't believe there's any wrong way to be a man. We're just redefining what it means to be a man.
But there are things that naturally come to men. So when you say we're just redefining what being a man is, you have to understand you're redefining a fabric in society that has kept the human race and got it to where it is today. So just like aimlessly throwing out, oh, well, we're just redefining what it is to be a man. That's not just like a light subject that we should be talking about.
But why do you think it has to stay the same? Why do we need to have the same thing for hundreds and hundreds of years?
Do you not see the state
It's not the same thing. It's just keeping the same qualities.
But do you see the state of our world today? It's not perfect. And it's been led by men like throughout all of history. And
I don't agree with that statement.
And look where it's gone.
So, we're talking.
Such a narrow-minded view.
Yeah.
Men are not perfect by any stretch of the
No.
But I don't think I don't think this is exclusively a men issue when it comes to like the world issues that's happening around the world.
Right.
This is not. If you watch movies and if you read stories and read books from different cultures all around the world, whether it's Korea, Japanese, Germany,
Afghanistan,
Russia, you watch their movies. We all have the same stories. Yep. Every single one. And the biggest element in there is the people in power. This is not a men versus women issue. This is a power issue.
Oh yeah.
Do you put a human being in a position of power and watch what they do with it?
Talking about
absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Dude, like one of my favorite quotes is in Ragnarok. I think it was not Ragnarok. It's from Vikings, where it's like, I can't forget. I forget. It's like, power attracts the worst and corrupts the best. There are no exceptions. I love that quote.
That's good. Yeah.
I love that. I love that quote.
Yeah.
So this is not a man versus. The issues around the world is about people in power. You put a woman in that power, she will do or more or less exactly the same things.
I mean, look at the politicians now. You know, Nancy Pelosi makes $200,000 a year. It was worth $105 million. Do you think she made that?
I don't trust any politician.
Yeah, not at all,
bro. I do not trust anyone who looks at a throne and wants it.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. You should hesitate. That's why Jon Snow should have been king. I didn't even watch the final episodes, and I know he did become king. He should have been king because he didn't want it. Those are the best people who can lead.
# spoilers.
Oh, my bad. Those are the best people because they understand how heavy the throne is.
And you know what?
How heavy the crown is.
You know, going back to that, George Washington, They offered him to be president for life, and he said no. If I was president for life, it would go to my head.
Exactly. I'm telling you, this is not a men versus women. When it comes to the state of the world, whether it's year 1 or 5,000, it will always be about people who seek power.
Yep.
And I do not trust anyone. I don't care if it's the freaking manager at fucking Walmart. I do not trust anyone who wants position of authority.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so rebellious. I always doubt everything you say, because if you're not there to keep them in check, they will run rampant.
Yeah.
About redesigning what it means to be a man. So what do you want to bring to traditional men?
I think it's embracing that you can be vulnerable. I think that a lot of men want to portray strength, but men are people, and I know that men have feelings.
Being a man.
That to me, that's why when you find a right woman, they bring that out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think it's such a symbiotic relationship.
When society can stop making fun of men when they start expressing emotions, start making memes out of it, then I'll agree with that guy's statement. But as of right now, society does not allow that.
Right.
Now, he's probably saying, like, we should, but that will never happen.
Right.
I don't see that ever happening where we're... because there are double standards.
Right.
And I just don't see that ever happening, no matter how hard you try to be progressive or anything like that.
Right.
Men are considered weak, whether you like it or not, when they express their emotions.
Yeah.
Look at Will Smith. They made memes out of him. Look at Kanye West losing his mind. And they made memes out of him. They made fun of him.
Yeah.
When a man expresses his emotions on a public platform, he is going to be made fun of.
Yep.
When a woman does it, everyone shows sympathy.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
And masculinity, those are two different things.
Until
and
women
I believe
are made fun of and turned into memes,
that we
then we're going somewhere. But you have to really think about like the privileges that women have in society, and not just strip men of what little they do have.
can redefine whatever that means to anybody by including other types of men or other types of masculinity. I myself am a father, I have a child. Some people would disagree with me being a father because I am transgender. But that being said, I present to the world as a male, my child sees me as a man.
There's proper ways to be vulnerable, right? You don't have to break down in front of your family and cry. It's okay to suffer silence as well. Strong men, I believe, exude the qualities that you guys are referring to. I think the problem is overcorrection, right? Some people believe that men need to cry and lay on the ground and be feminine like women. My name is Brandon.
That probably pissed a lot of women off, that statement.
What?
Lie on the ground and cry like women. Just because it pissed a lot of activist women off, I think.
34 years old, and I'm a conservative man.
Men cry
I had a
in
lot of
different way.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with tears.
Yeah.
curiosity.
Some men just sit in the dark and scroll on their phone.
Or some men just grab a gun and go do something weird and
dumb.
It's about what it's like to be a person who believes that they're a trans man. You know, I feel like God has created all of us very uniquely, and although I have beliefs and I follow the Bible to the T, I still want to know from other people what their experiences are. Doesn't mean I have to agree, but I really want to know what other people are feeling from the person who's experiencing it real time.
I have male privilege.
I hate that word.
Oh, sit over.
I've lived both lives, and I can tell you firsthand that it does exist. I am taken much more seriously in my career since I've transitioned as a man. Prior to transitioning, I would work just as hard, if not harder, for the same position and not be considered. The minute that I transition, I am immediately taken more seriously. I can give you an example. Obviously with COVID, there's like the mask mandate, right? So I have to tell customers all the time, it needs to be above your nose, right? I do that all day. My manager who's above me, who is a woman, will have to go to them, tell them they give her a...
That statement right there just wiped away everything he said.
What did he say? Sorry, I zoned out.
You need to pay attention,
I know, dude. I'm telling you, even in movies, I zoned out and have to rewind what just happened because this is ADHD.
Well, he's saying I wasn't taken seriously when I was a woman, and when I transitioned, I was taken a lot more seriously, and I was considered for higher jobs, right? But then he said my manager, who's a woman, it just really contradicted what he was saying.
Has to
fight, but the minute I just look...
that sounds to me that you transitioned and then you started to embody masculine traits, which people took you more seriously.
Right. But he's saying like I wasn't able to move up when I was a woman, but now I'm able to probably move up now because I'm a man. But the person who is ahead of him is a female. Like that's contradicting saying because you were a female you can't move up. You know what I mean?
There are a lot of women in power.
Yeah.
Like I was at a company where 98% of the upper management was women.
Yeah.
I was like the one male.
Right.
So I had to,
Can there direct
don't know what sounds like projection.
Yeah.
action? It's up. It doesn't seem like a privilege, but it is because now my manager has to work 3 times harder for something that's so simple.
I think the word privilege is the thing that turns a lot of people off with this conversation. But that being said, again, myself living my life as a female, pretty much half my life, and then now half my life as a man, there is no way I could not be honest about the fact that my life has changed drastically. Also being a white man, that's also a conversation a lot of people don't want to have. But I have privilege of being white and privilege also of being a man.
And then the people that have privileges for being black, like there are certain scholarship opportunities, there are certain affirmative action things. Like there are privileges to being every race, but we just don't talk about those.
There's privileges being a short person or being a taller person. You know,
Right.
I mean,
there's a privilege being an Asian sometimes.
I think being Asian is awesome, so I don't.
Yeah, being awesome is a privilege. No one ever picks on the Asians, except anti-Asian hate crime has gone up a lot.
Yeah, in cities like New York.
In California, yeah.
Now, I can walk into any room and command that room in a heartbeat because people just do that with men. And I think the thing is that biological men are born into that space, so they'll never ever see it. Why do we now, as women who have become men, get to have this thing? It's 100% because we are men. We look like men. Nobody would ever know. No one would ever know that we used to be women. So it's actually a real lived experience.
So I agree with a lot of what you all are saying as far as like transitioning. But as a black man, privilege looks way different for me because if I'm walking down the street, then I'm seen as a threat by police, by women, by anybody else. Being seen as a man is where my privilege stops and where everything else begins. So I don't see it as privilege.
Okay, I got a lot to say about this topic here. And first of all, I mean, we have to be transparent and honest with each other. You know, I think that not everybody on this side presents 100% like a man. Like if I saw you in the streets, I wouldn't think you were a man. You know, men have it really hard in this world, and they've always had it hard in this world. The wars have been fought by men. They've died in the hundreds of thousands. Men commit suicide more. Men work more the dangerous jobs. You know, if somebody broke in this place right now, who are they going to expect to defend everybody in here? It's going to be the men. If your family fails, they're not looking at your wife. They're not. They're looking at the man. You know, I just want people to understand it. There's some advantages that men have, and then also men do struggle in custody and all kinds of different things.
100%. I 100% agree with you as a man now, right? But I think my perception of it is different than yours because you were born male, you were raised male, you have a whole other space in that, and I totally respect your opinion on that, and I believe that is a true lived experience as a born man.
Yeah, and let me add with the black man because we have a total different reality in that. I don't, in no way, form, or fashion do I go into a room and I feel like I'm less than. I think I command presence when I go into a room because the way I'm dressed and I'm tall. I go in the streets, I've never had a person cross the street. I've never been attacked by a police officer. I was a police officer. You know, I've been pulled over probably 3 times in my entire.
I believe that we should shorten the hats the size of people over 6 foot tall by 4 inches. So just message.
So that women don't have tall men to date?
No, just like the difference between short guys and tall guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Our life.
I mean, my
Short
biggest
kings, they matter too.
question with this and why I don't necessarily agree with it is because when it comes to privilege, there's not really a way to quantify it. It's very subjective. So like your version of male privilege and your version of male privilege are very different.
So it's hard to see the other side because you've never lived it.
Yeah.
The difference
I hate that argument too.
between you and us is we see it because we've lived it. You have not. So
And you know, that argument is the exact argument why I absolutely was upset with you. Not upset, like mad upset, but when you were talking to me about Will Smith and whether or not the slap was fake.
What does that got to do with?
You're like, you would never know because you didn't take the class. You weren't in marketing. You don't know this stuff. Like, that to me irks me. I don't have to have been in marketing to understand how marketing works. You know what I mean? I don't have to take a class on marketing to understand. Like, I grew a YouTube channel. I understand somewhat about marketing. You market yourself on your channel. You market yourself on other social media platforms.
There's certain strategies when it comes to marketing, though. With men and women, that's like personal experiences. But with marketing, you can go to a class and learn.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is I hate that argument. Is you don't know it because you don't have that experience.
All right, so this is like comparing apples to oranges because this is completely
I'm sorry,
different.
This brought up a lot of pain from my past.
This is like a completely different. You couldn't learn how to do math. So someone tells you the math is wrong. You're like, no, the math is this because, I went to class. I don't consider that the same as like personal experiences are more subjective.
No, I understand that. But that triggered me. Triggered that emotion.
Wow, it's like 6 months. It's been 6 months.
No,
bro.
it has not been that long.
It's been a while.
It's been
a minute.
2 months.
It's been a minute.
But you were like, I can't talk to you about this because you don't know about it. Like, that irked me. I just want you to know that. That irked me. A lot.
It's easy to speak and be like, well, it doesn't exist. But well, how would you know?
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I think everybody has certain privileges, but what I think the question here is what defines male privilege over women? Because women have privileges too. Right. So is there a graph that you guys are calculating to make men have more than women or what?
The privilege is not acknowledging what you have that comes so easy.
So do you think that your fear, because you live both sides,
right.
do you think your fear is something that you have in your mind, or you think it's a reality? Because no, let me say this: you never really changed as a person. You're the same person
right,
that you
exactly.
were. So you have the same physical capabilities that you did when you were a woman.
No.
You don't.
No, my strength is entirely different after taking
what
hormones.
percentage would you say?
More than 100%.
Okay,
I weighed
so,
like 100 pounds. Now I weigh like 133.
You're still not probably as strong as me.
But it's not about strength. It's that women are targeted. Men are not.
Like I used to weigh 100 pounds to 133.
I mean, that's big if it's muscle. It's hard to gain 33 pounds of pure muscle.
It's not exactly 100% stronger.
Well, based off what you can lift. Your weight doesn't necessarily correlate to what you can lift.
Not targeted. I mean, maybe sometimes. I'm not saying it's never going to happen.
They're targeted by other men. Most of the homicides
but women are
in this
targeted
country
by other men. I think women have less of a safe space.
I
That's
disagree.
What I'm talking about.
Men don't have a safe space. If you go to certain
but I'm talking
cities,
about
they get murdered by
okay, but
other
I'm not
men
talking about certain cities. I'm talking about everyday life.
Yeah, every day.
Not
I think
certain
that's a
cities.
blanket statement.
Have you been attacked as a woman?
I have.
I have been pressurized.
I've been raped. I've been attacked. I can go on and on and on. I was homeless, living in the streets, raped all the time. It happens. It's a real thing. Yeah. I didn't see the guys on the street getting raped, but
men do get raped.
100%.
But we're not.
And the statistics are actually relatively similar. The statistics of women on, like 1 in 5 women on college campuses will be sexually assaulted. It's 1 in 6 for males. It's just the people who are doing it or the people who are talking about it are different. Usually men are getting assaulted by other men.
The experience of it.
Do you get catcalled down the street? Like,
I mean, women.
And that thing, like, I don't see a lot of people catcalling women. Do you? Maybe it's just because I'm not in like a big city.
Well, first of all, my mom has always been like a very beautiful woman, so I knew like a very young age the kind of attention that she got. We've had stalkers, we've had weird phone calls, we've had like weird emails. Like every time my mom would work at Dillard's, I would be concerned because like all the employees had to walk at the back end of the parking lot, which was like 150 yards away. So it's 10 p.m. at night and she's walking by herself. I've always was concerned about that walk.
Yeah. I'm just saying catcalling in general.
But as far as catcalling, I just know like through my mother's experiences and being a young child and not being able to defend her. I know like my concerns are, as far as women. So I think women have to be incredibly careful.
Oh, I agree 100% with that. Now I will say this: I absolutely disliked the way the baseball team talked about your mom sometimes.
I don't even remember.
They were, they made rude comments in my opinion.
Like I always say, life is 10% happens to you, 90% how you react to it. I mean, I could easily just got up, taking a baseball bat, and hit him in the head, you know. But that doesn't solve anything, and that actually puts me at a severe disadvantage in the end. So I never reacted on words. I never have, and I never will. But if they touched me, I was ready to throw down. But as far as words, I can't do anything about that.
To me, it bothered me.
I mean, I get that, but like, I could react negatively and cause some serious damage, or I can just like you know it's like today people really get offended very easily. But for me, I took the whole saying of, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That made sense to me. So when you grow older and you see all these adults who get offended, who lash out, who get super angry and super emotional about words that are being said or words that have been typed, I don't understand that. It's weird. Yeah, it really is. I don't know how you're so adversely affected by things that you like. It's just words to me. But people, they get like, it gets under their skin. They think about it for like weeks at a time. I have a friend. He had someone made a comment to him like 6 months ago, and he was like, "Dude, I'm sorry how I reacted." I'm like, "About what?" Like 6 months ago. I'm like, "Dude, I don't even remember." Like, he thought about that for 6 months.
Remember, I did that to you the other day. I came and apologized for how I said.
Bro, I didn't even remember that statement was gone 0.1% because I was more focused on. I was like, that was my thing. I should have cleaned it.
Right, but for me, like, it's when I feel like I've come off in a wrong way. I feel like as a person, I need to apologize.
I don't think
not that necessarily will change your opinion about it, but like, to make myself, selfishly, I feel like I have to apologize.
I mean, I definitely think there's like ways you can say things where you can like soften the blow, but for the most part, like, I was raised in a military household, so there was no softening. I have like incredibly thick skin, and I know that if I lashed out in that household in military, I would have gotten a spanking. So I know how to control myself. I know how to control my emotions, and I don't think people know how to do that these days. So, like, I understood a lot of people. Like, even Trey mentioned, like, I understand, you know, that's not cool and everything. I'm like, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. Like, it doesn't, like, I don't know. It just, like, whatever, y'all do your thing. That doesn't, like, but the second you touch me, that's when you've crossed my space. Then we're fighting. But they never did that.
Yeah, he almost killed me once.
They never pushed me. They never, like, the second, you know, Joe, you know, when he touched me and was trying to make, like, you know, like, pretend that he didn't. Yeah. Like, that's when it was over. That was when I was ready to throw down. Yeah. But other than that, you can say whatever the hell you want. That doesn't bother me. You can write mean comments. Sometimes it's funny. If I can spin what you say and make it into, like, a sarcastic remark, I will. Because I know that I can flip it and you will lose your freaking mind.
Well, I'm just going to say, I almost died once because I was throwing a baseball up and down next to him and I didn't catch it and it hit him and he almost hit me.
Well, see, like, you crossed my space. Like,
I didn't cross your space.
Like, the ball did. Where did it originate from? But that's just me. Yeah. Like, words don't bother me.
Women say things to me. When I was a police officer,
do you feel threatened? You feel empowered, though, right?
No, I don't feel empowered. I feel that's disgusting.
But do you feel scared? Do you feel threatened when a woman catcalls you?
No, I don't. I don't feel.
I have been sexually assaulted multiple times, in my life by women. So. Guys get it too. They just don't say anything about it. Yeah. So.
Threatening for me and try to challenge.
Because you have that male privilege.
Right. As a woman, it's different.
What if a man was whistling at you when you were walking down the street?
I've had it happen to me. I had gay men whistle to me.
But how does that make you feel?
I don't care.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you don't touch me, we cool.
Right.
I know you like him. As long as you don't touch me.
You may think I'm attractive. That's fine. That's cool. I
think women will say the same thing. As long as you're not like trying to be predatory. And I've seen it because I go to clubs with my friends who are girls, and I have to tell the men to literally leave them alone because they keep going and they're predatory and they're literally scouting out for women that are drunk or whatever, not even drunk. She could say no 1,000 times and they're still gonna bother her. But
I agree with that statement. There are a lot of really stupid dudes who are thinking with one brain over the other at a club.
The minute that I say something, they stop.
Women are not as strong as men and they get targeted. Sure, yes, that is a privilege that men have over women, but that doesn't mean that men have privilege because of that one situation. Men commit suicide way more than women do.
Because if we're going to go that route, trans men commit suicide twice the rate.
But that's not.
Trans women commit suicide twice the rate. Actually, more so than slaves that were enslaved in America, or Jews that were enslaved in internment camps. They have a really high suicide rate.
I think what's important here is to distinguish the fact that, yes, no one is negating the fact that women can get preyed on. You know, there's situations where this happens, right? Like, no one's going to deny that. But we're also just trying to say that it's not like a one-sided coin here, where there's no like men are just, you know, we just have it good and we can do whatever we want.
I do not believe that's true.
We can't even be the next Supreme Court justice because you know, it's like.
But you know, I live as a man, so I see the difference. Now.
Yeah.
When I said I have privilege and I walk into a room, of course. But then there's other things that are expected of me now as a man that I would never knew were expected.
So would
of
you
me.
guys agree that there's such thing as female privilege?
Oh, sure, 100%.
My wife has privilege because she has me.
That's right.
So she don't have to worry about her
Right
safety
on.
because I'm there.
I don't believe that as a man, it's like, you know, there's marketing for women-owned brands. Like I said, I can't be the next Supreme Court justice. Like, women are very much more empowered today, which I think is, I don't have no problem with it. I mean, like, good for you. But I think that the man I probably have privilege because I'm, you know, 6 foot 210. Like, no one's picking on me when I walk down the street. You know, I used to live in Chicago and I used to walk home all the time at night. But like, was that smart? Probably not. But I felt a little safe because, you know, I'm not 5 foot 100 pounds. I'm max.
The idea of like privilege is kind of weird to me.
Me
like,
too.
Everybody's going to have advantages and disadvantages depending on who you are.
Right.
You know, you could be a tall white male and a short white male. They're going to face different you know, problems in life. And one clearly is going to have easier access to the top shelf, and the short guy is going to need some help. You know.
Yeah,
but,
and the short guy can get the stuff on the bottom for the tall guy.
But the fact of the matter, he can still get there.
Yeah.
One way or another. I mean, you have to work hard. But
yeah.
I just don't like it because it's just, you can't make everything equal. You really you just can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
That's the only that will actually probably kill more people trying to make everyone equal.
95% of the 99% of the bricklayers are men. Should we sign women up for it?
Women are not going to do that. They're going to want something more in the AC. That's I call that women privilege. So why are we focused on this? It's kind of ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, I just hate that society is focused on a privilege of a specific group of people.
I just think there are people out there who have certain abilities that, regardless of sex or gender, you are going to be more suitable for a particular position. Just the way it is.
29, and I'm a conservative man. In today's society, women and men can be whatever they want and be as successful or as strong or as big of a leader as they choose. So I'm just wondering.
I disagree with that. You can't be anything you want. I think that's the reason why we got here in the first place. Because you told kids they could be anything they want when this is not reality.
Right. I'm not a paleontologist right now. Not in the major leagues.
In a society that is so seemingly level, more level than ever before, why are we transitioning to different genders to find, and what are we looking for?
Biology determines gender.
So, sex and gender, people try to argue that they're different, but sex and gender actually go hand to hand. And our biology, being a man, comes down to every fiber within our body. So whether that be DNA, chromosomes, testosterone levels, bone density, there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into it, and it all has to do with biology.
So biology, I 100% believe in biology. Today we talk about biology being a social construct. I disagree with that as a transgender person. I was born biologically female. I always acknowledge that, and today I live as a male. Now that being said, sex and gender, they are trying to separate those things. Gender can be, I've chosen my gender. As you see, nobody would, I think, probably understand that I used to be a female. Now, many people do, like you just said, believe that sex and gender are one thing and you can never change those. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm trying to show the world that this is how I feel by presenting the outside. But I think denying biology is where we get into a lot of problems.
So if you want to be, seen as a man, then like.
Right on.
I 100% agree with what he just said.
Same. I agree.
Yeah.
Who are you to? I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, you do you, whatever makes you happy. But I think like it becomes a slippery slope. It's like, how are we going to deny basic human facts? Like, there's two
I think that
genders.
causes problems, and it causes problems for me.
Yeah.
Because the minute I start denying your biology, now you feel attacked by me.
Right.
And I don't want you to feel attacked by me. I never want you to feel, I want to be a part of, if that makes sense. You don't have to agree with my choice of how I live my life, but all I ask for is respect.
What do you have on your driver license and your birth certificate?
Right,
Did you
great,
change it to
great.
male or did you change it to?
So that being said, I transitioned to live as a man 29 years ago. So that was way before you see any of this stuff. And I had to acknowledge my biology, right? That being said, my license, I travel the world. It has to say male. Can you imagine if I showed up at the airport, they're like, female? Dude, there's something going on here. But I actually got my birth certificate changed to male. I was the first person to do that here in Los Angeles. But that being said, I kind of think that it might have been a mistake to do that now, looking forward today, because I never thought we would be having this conversation.
I'm glad you said that because I love that people can express themselves. We live in America. It doesn't matter what I believe, what my religion is. I love that people can live their best life. I'll never, ever in my life protest or try to go against a person who wants to identify. The problem is when you begin to try to change language and you begin to try to change reality, and then therefore it changes on the children, and all of that becomes problematic. If a person says, okay, I acknowledge I'm born as a man or a woman, but I want to identify as this, cool, I respect that. And even if I didn't want to see it that way, and some people may be a little more ambiguous, I wouldn't never disrespect you. I'll call you by your name.
That's right.
Whatever name that you want to be associated with, I'll do that. And I think if everybody in the country can get on that same page, I think we'll see less division.
I've noticed in a lot of the trans individuals
I agree.
that I've met, the older generation who had it a lot harder in society to be accepted is a lot more willing to have the conversation.
We didn't have social media. I didn't have cell phones. I didn't have computers when I transitioned. This is how you build bridges. I'm Buck, I'm 59 years old, and I'm a trans man. Because I'm an elder trans man now, and there's a much newer generation, there's a definite space where I have a different way of being than the younger generation, and why I tend to call myself a transsexual man. And I believe in biology, I believe in binary, so it really does not necessarily align with a new thought process that is happening.
And he believes in the binary. Interesting.
With the newer generation.
So I love this question. With trans folks, biology does change. Our bone density does change. Our muscle structure does change. Our testosterone levels do change. So biologically, we do change. Anatomically, now that's where surgeries come into play.
Anatomically is part of the biology.
So when we're talking about biology and gender that can't be changed, our biology absolutely and concretely changes.
Not the DNA.
But our bio...
DNA does not change.
Yeah, DNA is not going to change for anyone.
So you acknowledge there's a biological difference between males and females, because some people on the other side would say there's no difference, like a female, like I could look like a girl, not having testosterone, but I'm still a male.
Some people are male, some people are female, chromosomally. But when we start to take testosterone, our bodies do biologically change.
But what about trans men who don't take testosterone?
Then their bodies don't biologically change.
That means then they're biologically still female, right?
Well, and gender in itself is something we get to choose. Okay,
That's right.
Just like you said.
That's right.
In your life, you get to choose. Not
That's
you don't
right.
get to choose it for the world, but you get to choose it for
I
your
get to
life.
choose my gender because I've been on testosterone for 10 years. Okay, going on 11 years.
But there's some anatomy that will never change.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you'll still have ovaries. You still have,
Yes.
the female reproductive system. You said that you had a child.
Yes, I've given birth. I no longer have female reproductive organs.
Right, but you had that. You will never get male productive organs.
Now, when you think about it, the male and female productive organs are similar, and they're nearly the same. They're different. Right. They're different in size.
Even if
biologically,
and they're different in functionality too.
Not necessarily, because the testes and the ovaries are very much similar. One is a.
See, there is a huge difference between male and female reproductive organs. It's just like we share 99% of our DNA with with dolphins. But there's still a huge difference between humans and dolphins.
You sure it's dolphins?
It's like 96%. Well, they also, yeah. But dolphins are similar too. But there's still a huge difference. The smallest amount of difference can create a huge difference.
All I know is that when you go into the hospital, your biology matters.
Yeah.
When you go get your doctor checked up, your biology is going to matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're more likely to get more breast cancer or cyst in certain parts of your body if you're a woman.
Yeah.
And that's going to may or may not kill you. So that it matters.
Yeah.
So you can deny your biology. But at the end of the day, when your health starts to decline, your biology will matter to a doctor.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way they're going to save your life.
Yep.
An egg, one is a fertilizer,
But
and
we
that's
can
the
never,
difference.
but I never can produce sperm.
You're absolutely
ever,
right.
Ever.
You're absolutely right.
And they can never produce ova.
And you guys are saying that gender is like a social construct. Is that what you're saying too, that you could change it? But also, if you want to be technical about it, age is a social construct, your ethnicity and race is a social construct, and I'm Hispanic. I can't say I'm Chinese because I like Chinese food. I could bleach my skin all I want. I could wear Chinese clothes.
No, race
Chinese.
is not.
It's a
How
social
is
construct.
ethnicity going to be a construct?
Ethnicity is a construct. Race is a construct. Ethnicity was created, so I would also say it's a construct.
It's all a social construct.
So
we all agree on it.
how exactly?
If you look up, is race a social construct? Ethnicity a social construct? Is time a social construct? Right. Everything's a social construct if you want to think about it that way. But we have set truths and we can't change those truths. If you want to say you're trans man, that means you're a biological female that thinks that
No,
you're a male.
I am a biological male. I'm an anatomically.
See, he's gonna have different
I'm
version
still
of it than,
right.
and I think it's really important that
right.
you understand
and
we're all gonna have
it's
different views.
anatomic, okay?
Yeah.
What? Well, he's a biological male?
Because he's saying when he took testosterone, his body changed.
He's a biological male?
No, he was born a female. But he said when he started taking testosterone, his body changed to a male.
That's just false.
Yeah.
Because biologically, I have shifted, okay? Trans meaning going from one to the next.
Biologically and all these things, I know that there's importance for you guys, but meeting me or seeing me, you would never know. So why is it important?
Well, no, because
just I'm just
say
curious.
if I was a woman, just say if I was a woman and I wanted to date you, what are you going to tell me?
I would tell you that I'm trans. What do you
No,
mean?
no, I'm saying you can't tell me that you're a man.
I mean, I'm still a man.
No, but
I'm
you
a
got to tell
transgender
me.
man.
You got to tell me that you were born a woman. You have to.
I mean, I don't have to.
Well, because if I go down, if I see
Right.
you in your pants,
Right.
I'm going to see something different, and that will be troubling to me if I had an expectation.
But again, this is like leading off the topic, but I mean, to answer your question, if you must know, I do tell the person that I'm talking to or interested that I'm transgender. I don't think that you need it to, you don't need a penis to be a man. I know that you may disagree, which is fine, like I get it, but I don't want one.
Now, I have a question for all of you. Do your penises make you men?
Yes.
Yes,
Well, it's part of our.
Like,
it's
no,
part of what
that
makes
is
me a man,
is
yes.
that what makes you
Well, I
men?
said being a
Yeah, it is the thing that made me a man.
You say what?
Having a penis is the original thing that made me a man.
I mean, if you lost it in some sort of like horrific accident, are you less of a man now? Because
No. But what I'm saying, it's what identified me as a man, or as a male, or as a biological man was my penis. I'm not saying you're less of a man if you lost a penis. What I'm saying is that's what made you a man in the first place. Your chromosomes created you to have a penis, which then was identified as a male or a man. Do you know what I mean? Am I coming across?
Yeah, I mean at birth, but it's
Right.
saying it, like many things can happen.
Right. No, that's what I'm
You know,
saying.
like-
Is the original identifier was my penis was the original identifier of me as a man. If we didn't have anything that separated us, then how would we know one person was a man and one was a woman, right? Is the original identifier of me as a man. Not like it didn't make me man, but it's the original identifier. Okay.
man's ingrained within every part of your body. So our cells, our
Right,
yes, our
but
penis too.
but if
someone
you
was
had
a boar-
to if you had to look at the difference between us and between you, now would that difference be the lack of a penis?
If we were naked.
Okay.
I mean,
so
it
if
would
we're
be-
gonna minimize being a man to that particular anatomy,
we didn't minimize
No.
it to
I'm asking the question. Okay. If we minimize it, because this is where we're going, is anatomy, right? Because that's where we've gotten.
Our basic
Okay.
biology, yeah.
So if we get there, so do your penises make you more men than us?
It's part of
It's
what
not
does.
making more or less. It's we're a biologically man. You're not a biological man.
It's not a spectrum,
It's
so
from-
it's not a question that we can answer because you're saying on the spectrum, would this make us more of a man than you? But no, it's because we are a man and you guys aren't.
Well, we're different.
So we're not men.
We're
is
different.
what you is exactly what you just said.
In my view, you guys are appropriating the gender and you are living as a man.
Hey, bro,
that might not have been the best thing to say.
Ooh, he brought out the appropriation.
Man, but biologically you are not a man. So to me, it's not, you can't say, okay, well, does that make us more of a man? That's not even a question to ask because you're not a biological man. When it comes down to asking questions that make me start to change what the truth is and what the truth isn't, putting it on a spectrum when it's an objective truth, that's where I draw the line.
What's the biggest problem with what he said? It doesn't make what you feel any different. The biological truth is the truth, and why can't that be the truth? And you also say, but I feel like on the inside that I'm a man and I'm gonna present that way.
The argument is that people try to invalidate who we are with that. I'm not saying that you guys are doing that, but a lot of society in the world does that. Well, biologically, you're female. What hurts trans people that people don't realize what they're doing is it's very harmful. You gotta be aware of what you're saying and what you're putting out there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, 100%. I would, and that's why I think we all agree. We would never try to offend you or anything like that. To be honest, if I saw any one of you in the streets, I don't care. It's not gonna bother me that you wanna, I would know unless I pulled your pants down or something. Right. Why do you feel like you have to present the way you do? You know, facial hair. Could you be a man without having facial hair?
I mean, yeah.
Because you feel like you're a man.
I'm in the early stages of testosterone. I haven't hit 1 year yet. But personally for me, you know, I crave, you know, having a full-on beard like these fine gentlemen and you guys are. Like, I crave it, you know, like. But I do believe not having like this little small peach fuzz I have going on, it does make me feel more dysphoric. It makes me like feel like, oh, this is how I presented before transitioning.
Do you feel like it's something that has gone wrong at birth? Like, you know, you're born and you say, well, genetics and evolution says this. Why do I feel like this?
Yeah,
yet
I mean,
I
think questioning it was something that I always wondered because sometimes when people say like, oh, like it was a choice, which I hear a lot on the other side all the time, like it was a choice. I was legit born this way. Like I could remember from, I think 4 or 5 years old where like I didn't feel like a girl, you know what I mean? And I can't tell you why that happened. It was just my path in this life. And it's something that I honored. And, you know, it was really hard for me to continue living, especially when puberty hit, you know, like
And I would say that these 4 men, there are people in this world that is a thing, that they really feel like they were born the wrong gender. I think what is crossing the line necessarily is nowadays, one day, oh, I feel like a man, another day I feel like a woman. That's not what happens. Like, for Buck, for instance, I honestly believe that there was something in him that made him feel like a man, even though he was born a woman. Like, and I think that there's nothing necessarily wrong with him presenting as a man. I just think when people are every day saying there's something different, oh, I identify as a fish today, or fish self, or whatever, you know, that to me isn't a thing. And I mean, that's just my opinion.
I think there's some guy on Ripley's Believe It or Not who one day identify as a dragon. So that was like years ago.
Yeah.
Month comes in, obviously anatomy changes, like, and that was the biggest thing for me where I knew that, like, okay, I can't do this. It's like you're not in your own home.
Children should be allowed to transition.
No.
No, absolutely not.
Well, I was gonna say, I find it very interesting that you and I are the only ones that stepped up, especially since we're younger. And
you should allow children to feel what they feel, because I felt the way that I felt for as long as I can remember, and it's something that I cannot deny.
Yeah.
You know, although my mother is supportive, when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to wear boys' clothes because that wasn't right. Now I know we're talking about transitioning. It doesn't always have to be hormones. It's like transitioning in society, so being able to dress more masculine. Yeah. I did when I was younger, but as I got into middle school, kids change, people are mean, so you know, I dressed how I would in society, so I dressed like a girl, whatever, but I think that children should be allowed to express themselves in whatever way makes them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Kids are struggling to be who they are, and there's more rates of suicide for trans individuals because they're like, there's literally being laws put in place to prevent them from being who they are, and that's not right. That's not right.
Okay, so I work with children. This is where I have like the biggest problem with the trans stuff is with the children, because people, like I'm sure you guys would agree, you want to inject them with the hormones to stop their puberty, their normal puberty. They haven't even developed their prefrontal cortex yet, and you want to stop their natural puberty from occurring to affirm their gender, and then later on they regret it. I think that's not a good thing.
There's going to be stories in about like 15 to 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of stories about that.
I mean, there still are right now.
Yeah?
Yeah. There are people who felt pressure to be something, to be trans, and then realized that they weren't. You know? It's just, in a society where, I don't want to say necessarily it's the cool thing or the in thing, but in a society where it's as prevalent necessarily as today, or it's what we see a lot on TV, it's what we see a lot on TikTok or on YouTube or whatever that people are watching, that it becomes something that they think is the right way to do it. And if you're not old enough to vote,
I mean, kids are very impressionable.
Yeah. They're sponges. They soak everything up.
Right. So I don't think you should be trying to change their biology.
Right. At 18, let them do what they want.
At 18, they're adults, so they can do whatever. But
yeah,
I don't think you should be trying to inject them with testosterone or whatever.
See, that's why this is a loaded question, because transition can mean many things for children. Now, I totally, as a transsexual person, disagree with giving children hormone blockers, medication, surgery, but what I do agree with is socially transitioning, which means what, because I did that, okay, and I did that in the 60s and 70s. My parents dressed me like Buck, I was a boy, you know, I didn't have any problems because I just lived, we used to call it a tomboy, right? So that was totally, and I went through puberty and I did all the things. I do not believe children can make those choices, and I do not believe it's okay and ethical for a parent to make those choices for a child. But I do believe gender dysphoria exists in children. I had it, 100% it's there. But to give medication to a child is so unethical to me that you would actually, you're exactly what you said, you're stunting brain growth, you're stunting all of these things. They don't have enough research on it. So I'm in agreement with transitioning medically for children is not okay for me, but I do believe in a social space.
When you say a social transition, it's interesting to me because we can't control what happens in a social situation.
That's right. That's right.
So to me, and we talk about suicide rates among young trans people, this whole ideology is telling people to derive their value off of what somebody else is saying about them or what somebody else affirms to them. So we say that, you know, society is the problem and we're not allowing people to be who they are, and that's why they're committing suicide. But maybe it has to do with the messaging that we're sending to these kids, that you derive your value from if somebody uses your correct pronoun, or you derive your value if this person accepts you for wearing a dress. Be who you are, but tell them to be empowered about it and not get that empowerment from somebody else.
That's right.
I feel like that's really kind of inconsiderate to say that someone would take their life because what someone else says. To somebody, that is important. To somebody, I know, have friends who their family does not use their correct pronouns and they've transitioned and they live in the same household. This person struggles with depression and anxiety. Could you imagine living in an environment like that where you're no longer validated? That's coming from your own parents.
But if you base your validation off of other people, this is a hard truth, but if your sole validation
No, you definitely have to do it. Listen,
I
could give
people,
a shit when everyone thinks about me. I do what I want. But for everyone, that's not the case because everybody has different personalities.
Right, but that doesn't make it any. That doesn't mean that.
But it's still. But what you're not acknowledging. Listen, what you're not acknowledging though is that in that environment, it is not supported.
I'm acknowledging that. I'm just saying that we're saying that for some reason they should look for that validation from somebody else.
When you
rather
love
than
somebody
find it
and you
within.
have a family, you want them to.
But you're
validate
focusing not on the individual. You're focusing on the people outside of that
yeah,
individual.
but the individual.
I'm focusing on empowering that individual.
But part of being a person is needing to be validated. You don't need to be validated ever in your life from your family or your friends.
I get my validation from within, and then
right. But if we're
like people like who don't understand, people who get their validation from within don't understand that.
Right.
They don't. I always try to if you give the power. If you give people the power to feed you, they can have the power to starve you. And it seems like trying to get your emotional stability from other people. That seems like a very unstable source of happiness.
Yeah. I will say that I need validation from people sometimes, but I also have an extreme confidence in who I am as a person. But I need validation in other areas, like my work. Like, I feel like I need to be validated at some points in my work to make sure that I'm doing it right. You know what I mean? Whereas me as a person, I have an extreme confidence in who I am. I don't need to dress up to feel like I'm powerful. I can wear basketball shorts or a t-shirt to work as a lawyer, because although that's not what you do as a lawyer, it's who I am. Mm-hmm. And I've been lucky to find people, law firms, that don't care if I wear suits every day. And I'm A-okay with that, because I will not wear a suit every day of my life. That's just who I am. I will quit my job and go out on my own before I wear a suit every day.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep. So
we're talking about children, okay? If we're talking, okay, I was an 8-year-old when I found out that I wasn't biologically male, right? I was 8 when I found out that I wasn't the same as my brothers, okay? And so going through that process, I attempted suicide 4 times because my mother was like, well, you are a girl. When you're 8 and you're 12 and you don't have anyone else that is in your space, when you don't have anyone else that lives in the same house as you to tell you you're okay.
I get what they're saying, though. Like, as a kid, it's different than me being who I am now, because I have that lived experience, whereas a kid doesn't, you know? A kid is a vulnerable person, and they're going to be more vulnerable to being outcasted, especially by, like, their family. So I get what these gentlemen are saying, too.
Where are you supposed to go? How are you supposed to garner your own self-validation if the people that are raising you don't validate who you are?
To me, it comes back to, like, that I always hated when my parents said, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. Because that's the lack of validation from them.
Really?
They're disappointed in you, which means they did not validate the behavior that I did.
As a father, you know, my duty is to raise my children the way I believe is right. And if my child somehow struggles with this, which is fine, we'll have that conversation. But I'm going to let it play out the way I believe it should be played out. And at 18 years old, you can do whatever you want to do. If you don't want to wear dresses, that's fine. I mean, just wearing if you want to dress like a boy, don't make you want to be a boy. Don't mean you have to be a boy. My mom was a tomboy, and my mom had me and my brother, and she's a woman, you know, and she lives like that. But, you know, you may want to dress a little different. Maybe a boy want to do cheerleading or something like that. Right. But that don't mean you need to transition to something else. So I want that to play out until my child is old enough to make that decision on their own. Also, you have to teach your children to have balance, because if you just want mommy and daddy to acquiesce to everything you want, that's not reality. Yeah. You have to understand that mom and dad may not see me this way. They love me. Right. I see myself this way, and I disagree with how they speak to me or how but I love them as well. I love, like my son, if he said that he was, and I'm a Christian and I don't believe in homosexuality, I don't. I respect anybody that feel that way. I never, protest you at all. If my son came to me, it would be a struggle for me to want to go to his wedding. I'm just going to be honest. But I think that my son should understand this is the way my dad feel. I love him.
Huh? That wouldn't bother me. What about you?
I would lie if I said it wouldn't bother me.
Really?
Again, I'm the same as him. I'm a Christian person. But I also think it would bother me less than it bothers him. Because I view it as I'm going to love my child unconditionally for who they are, and there's not anything I'm going to do. Yeah, I do music reactions normally. This is something new that I'm trying out. So, oh man, our screen's messing up. We've been going for so long.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it freezes every once in a while. But what I'm saying is, like, I would love my kid unconditionally. I would go to the wedding. I would let it know that I'm not necessarily accepting of the lifestyle, but that doesn't change how I feel about you.
This is
my
the
thing is, like, attraction is not a choice. So, like, I can't change that, so I would love him. Plus, one of my best friends is gay, so he doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Way I feel.
Well, I have friends that are gay. It doesn't bother me. I just don't necessarily agree with the lifestyle.
And we have mutual.
And again, that's just my upbringing was different.
Like, when you say lifestyle, what do you mean lifestyle?
I believe it's a choice for the majority of people.
Would you really think it's a choice?
Mm-hmm.
Like why? All right, just for the sake of arguing, why do you think it's a choice?
Why? I mean,
let's say you come across a woman who's, by all means, she doesn't, zero hygiene, doesn't wear deodorant, the most unattractive woman you have ever met in your life. Could you date that person? Could you love that person? Could you feel some sort of attraction towards that person?
I think it can grow.
No way, dude. No way. No, I don't believe.
Okay, on the opposite side, right? On the opposite side. What if you found something, a small thing in that person that you just described that you found attractive?
There would be zero. But what do you mean?
No.
I can have the best personality in the world and have the biggest heart. I would not be able to feel any sort of physical attraction towards.
So what you're saying is it's a choice.
No, I would not.
You just said it's a choice.
No, it isn't. I would never be able to feel some sort of attraction.
But you don't know that because maybe there's some quality in them that you see. That's what attraction is, right? Attraction is finding some quality that you see that you latch onto. And either it's a choice to choose to continue to love that, because what you just said is, I would never love somebody like that.
I could never be attracted to a person like that, ever.
Right, which means
Ever.
It's a
So
choice.
if you told me that I had to marry this person,
no, not saying that.
You told me I had to be in a relationship with this person, it would never happen.
I'm not saying that.
I would.
What I'm saying is,
off, dude.
What is a quality in a woman that you find extremely attractive?
I like kind, sweet women.
Okay, let's say this person is the kindest, the sweetest person, and you find that attractive in this person, right?
Yeah. So what? I think there are a lot of men who are kind and sweet
right,
too. But you don't see me wanting to having dirty thoughts about them.
It's a choice.
It's not a choice. I don't think you're understanding this.
No, I don't think you are.
No, it's not a choice. You cannot choose to be attracted to someone. You just can't. It's not a choice for me. If I had a room full of beautiful women, there's only going to be one that I'm going to be really attracted to, that I want to get to know, that I want to build something.
That's different.
Why is that different?
That's different.
Why is that different?
If every single one of them is hot and attractive, you're attracted to all of them.
I would have sex. Yes,
that's an attraction.
Sex.
That's an attraction.
That's not.
That's an attraction. Am I wrong?
So you're saying that gay men are also attracted to pretty women?
They can be, yeah.
No, bro.
Do you not find certain men attractive?
I may look at them and see them visibly because they have a face of a golden ratio that fits the golden ratio, and be like, yeah, that gets a good-looking man. But I'm not going to want to have sex with him.
This is what I'm saying. Okay?
I'm never going to have sex with another man. I could never look at a good-looking Brad Pitt.
It's been proven. I'm just saying, in science, it's been proven that homosexuality is a very small percentage of the people who think they're homosexuals. So the fact is, out of the small percentage of it is already of people who think they're homosexuals, only a small percentage of those people are actually homosexuals.
I mean, there have been some people who've been sexually abused as children.
That's not what I'm saying. It's a small, very small percentage of people who are actually born with an attraction to the same sex. Only because we are wired to reproduce, right? That's what humans are wired to do.
But some people are asexual and have zero attraction to male or female.
Which is also a very small percentage.
But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, attraction is not a choice. You cannot choose. You cannot make me be attracted to that unhygienic woman.
What I'm saying,
no matter how kind or sweet it is, she could be a nun on every Sunday. She goes out and gives stuff to all adopts every child. I would never be able to get it up for her. I think
this is where we're again. You're equating the same attraction right then, getting it up to the same attraction as all of the people, all of the hot pretty women in the room, right?
I'm still attracted to women.
What I'm saying is, you're equating that.
Okay, if there was a room full of hot men and hot women, all with the golden ratio face, all clean, hygienic, kind, and sweet, I'm gonna pick a woman at the end of the day. Gay men are not going to be
This is what I'm gonna say.
Gonna have a room full of women and hot men. They're going to pick a man because that's who they are attracted to.
Okay, question then. What about bisexuals?
They're both. Why can't I have both? Or maybe
This is what I'm going to say. First of all, scientifically, bisexuality is not a thing. There's no... Scientifically.
Where are you getting these articles?
I'll find them for you and I'll show them to you. But what I'm saying is, for the majority of homosexuals, it's a choice. That's all I'm going to say.
Majority?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why they would, like, for many, because my uncle was gay as well. I don't know why he would have to go through being ostracized by society because of his choice. I just don't see why they would why he would choose to live a life where he's hated. I just don't see it. What's happening?
I'm looking up articles for you.
You have... I don't know how long this live has been, but
It's been long.
It's been wild.
Yes.
I was thinking, okay, we could do this in 45 minutes. It's been probably like 2 hours.
Yeah. We probably should finish this up. And then
Yeah, you probably just sent me the article.
Yeah.
Love. And that don't mean I hate you. That just mean we disagree. And I wish that same sentiment would be, and I think it's the same on this panel. Like, there's no hate in any of this. Right. I love every single person on this side, and we may think of things differently, but we love each other. It can't be one-sided.
I am lucky, I'm 41, and I'm a trans man. One of my greatest fears as a trans man is my life being taken from me because I'm a trans man. Transitioning in a black neighborhood with gang members as neighbors, they weren't having that. So the more that my body started to look a lot like theirs.
It's been an hour and a half, Katie says. She's been watching. So.
She's been watching the whole time?
I was challenged on a regular basis. I was beaten up because someone recognized me from prior to my transition and approached me and confronted me and called me a liar and told me I was a bitch. And I, out of safety, was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they cold cocked me and I lost a front tooth.
I grew up with a positive father figure.
This is good.
I think for me it's surprising because I would believe that a woman or a person who's born as a woman who now identifies as a man didn't have a positive role model as a man, and therefore they felt somewhat insecure as a woman, which makes them, feel a certain way and want to be a certain different person. Maybe they want to be the man that their father never was, or whatever the case may be. And so it was very interesting. I mean, being honest, it was interesting to see pretty much a majority of you guys come forward.
That's so great. I think that's really important that you say that, because I do think a lot of people probably feel that way about guys like me, right? That our fathers we didn't have the right upbringing or what. My father was amazing. I grew up really like a little boy. I always felt like a little boy. My parents actually raised me, and I'm 59 years old, so that was in the 60s and the 70s when we didn't even talk about this kind of stuff. But my parents actually felt it from me. So I think that that's a misconception that people think about people like us.
Any good father pushes their child to feel self-love and to feel like they can be who they want, do what they want, and have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Like our founding fathers. And so it's fatherlessness or having a missing dad is a pandemic in its own, and it's one that obviously I'm sure Brandon can attest to. It's so critical to have a father in the house because kids get lost when they don't have one, and having a father that's loving and strong and someone you can rely on is the reason why we're all comfortable with who we are.
I had several different father figures in my life, so it wasn't, I had a dad, but then I had my grandfather and I had my uncle. It takes a village to raise a child, right? But all of those different perspectives raised me as a well-rounded human. If we take the masculinity out of it, just as a human, I got to see different perspectives. And so now as a father that has given birth to a child, and that child being a male, right, I'm able to raise him with those same ideals that I'm able to identify because of the father figures that I had.
I didn't have my father growing up. He was not present in my life at all. So it showed me that some men can step up, like my grandfather and my stepfather, who have taken me in and showed me how to take care of myself, how to be, strong and dependable. And all I've been able to do is give more love to all people that I interact with.
Right.
So it was really important for me to have those figures.
I think this is a really important thing to show people that are watching this, because a lot of times I feel like we can blame any issues in society or anything that arises on the generation that came before us. So any issues that arise in our society, it's like, there's not always a reason why it's happening. We just need to address the issue and solve it.
I grew up with all women. My parents were divorced and I lived with my mom. I had my aunts. So I was raised by women, but my dad was there sometimes, and then my stepdad took me in as his own, so I had my stepdad as a father figure.
I grew up with all women as well. My mom used to tell me I have to be your mom and your dad. So like there'd be times where I got both. Like she was super sweet with me or really strict on me, and like she taught me a lot as well. Like growing up with women, it taught me a lot of vulnerability.
You know, when you were talking to, I was like, I relate to you very well. But yeah.
I'm Jacob, I'm 27 years old, and I'm a trans man. So the relation with my dad and how unsupportive he is has been a challenge for me, but it's something that I've learned to grow past. And I encourage everyone that even if you don't have a parent who is supportive, to still be authentically yourself, because your life is meant to be lived for you. And I think that choosing my happiness above all else has made my life that much better, and I wouldn't change anything. Even though he wasn't supportive, I still wouldn't have him here.
Let me ask you a question. What happens if your child decided that they wanted to switch genders? How about change same sex?
Wouldn't happen in my household.
It wouldn't happen?
No. I mean, I would let them dress the way they wanted, but they would be that gender that they were born with.
What happens after 18 and they moved out of the house?
That's fine. I'll still accept my kid for who they are. I still love them. Again, they would probably understand that I don't necessarily accept it, but I'm going to love my kid, whoever it is, unconditionally.
To all your guys' points,
I don't want my kid to go through the hardship of it, something like that, you know?
I would definitely say, yeah, I did have a father figure. He was in the Marines, and he has this very like toxic masculinity mindset. A lot of anger built up that I can definitely tell he suppressed, you know, in the Marines, because that's what he was taught to do. That's what the Marines are about. He always carried that with him, and I think that's what he tried to instill in me and my siblings at a very young age, which made it hard for me to be vulnerable with myself. And I just saw a lot of anger issues that were, you know, very violent sometimes. And since coming out as trans, I feel like he's been more willing to understand me more and trying to figure out who I am as a person. And because of that, I feel like our relationship has definitely got a lot stronger since then.
I can't imagine how difficult it is to come home and then try to be vulnerable after suppressing so much pain and hurt for years. So it's good to hear that, you know, he's learning and kind of evolving and opening up. That's something where, you know, you guys were talking about vulnerability, right? And it's like, there's times when it's good to be hard.
I don't show emotion as much as I'd like.
I wouldn't sit down. I show enough emotion.
I agree.
I definitely have sensed and noticed since transitioning that being on testosterone has made me cry less, which is very interesting because I believe that before I transitioned and started taking testosterone, I feel like not being able to cry as much, it makes me like, I'm like, damn, I wish I could cry right now, but it's not gonna happen. Hi, I'm Gibby and I'm a trans man. Before transitioning, I guess only presented as lesbian, but since transitioning, I've been able to be more comfortable with my sexuality. I've definitely seen on like dating apps and stuff, a lot of conservative men fetishizing trans individuals. And it's interesting because a lot of the time they say that they don't identify as gay or, you know, within the community, and yet they're fetishizing my community.
So I don't know about you guys, but I always speak my mind. If I feel a certain way, I'll tell somebody, and that probably cost me a lot of relationships, but that's just how I am. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with, I know we talked about vulnerability, you know, a long time ago. I don't think there's anything wrong with being vulnerable. I think, like we said, there's times and places for it. Knowing when it's okay to be vulnerable and being self-aware of that, and then, you know, being strong when you need to, and being sad, you know, when it's appropriate. But I certainly am not as vulnerable or not as emotional as probably I should, because it's not something that I always did growing up. But I don't feel like I have any real issues like suppressing. I just feel like I kind of get it out in other ways.
Yeah, that's great you look at it like that, because I believe for me, like my personal experiences, like because I was one, to transition at a very young age, and my dad being in the military, being a veteran, he would see me being vulnerable at times, and he'd be like, well, don't you want to be a man? And that would make me feel like, oh, am I not supposed to be vulnerable anymore? Now that I'm gonna transition. And it was just like very hard for me because, like I said earlier, it was hard for me to have that father figure at that time of my life.
My process of, digesting emotions is by myself, and I use that time to self-reflect. So if I'm feeling angry, or if I'm, feeling really passionate about something, or whatever the emotion is, sometimes I pull back and I don't show that emotion because I'm reflecting on it and trying to understand why it's there. So I think a lot of times people can think men aren't showing enough emotion, but in reality, they're just self-assessing why that emotion is there in order to see what it's trying to teach us.
Right. I think when I was female, I was much more angry. I was just reactive, angry, like, grr. And then as I became a man, I cry more now as a man than I ever did as a woman. And I think it's because I'm at peace with myself. And so before I was just so angry about being a woman and everyone calling me she and seeing a girl, and I'd just be, as a fashion model. So that really just took it to a whole other level. And then once.
Y'all, we've lost Brian.
What happened?
I said we've lost you.
Sorry, I went off in my head. What happened? Sorry.
Once I became a man, it was like, whoa, I can actually relax. And I think I do the same thing. I self-reflect on myself. I want to be this type of man that is more vulnerable and that is more accessing my own emotions.
Thank you, everyone.
Right on. Thank you.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Thank you.
Interesting.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I was not like, how long did it take? 2 hours.
Let's see.
Because usually these videos are only like 15 minutes long, but we got the long version.
Hour and 45 minutes.
Pretty wild, man.
Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed as much as we enjoyed doing this. At least I did.
I enjoyed it. We should do more. I should
I'm down.
Less spacing out, but I definitely
I'm down.
would like to guest star on your podcast here.
Sounds good. I hope y'all liked it. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you like my YouTube channel, and I'll see y'all later. Stay bearded.
Stay bearded. I got no beards.
I know.